Welcome everyone to Mary Giuliani Live. I am so thrilled you are here tonight. I have my best friend in the green room, Cari Palmer, and wow, what a treat it is to have her on the show. It's been an amazing friendship that we've built over the past, gosh, I think almost 2 years now. And so stand by, we're going to be bringing Cari on in just a few minutes, but I have a couple of announcements first. For those of you that are watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. If you would like to ask Cari questions in real time, what you would need to do is go over to marygiulianinet Watch Live, and there's a little chat box right below the live stream on my website, so you can watch and chat, and I will be able to field those questions there. I can't do them both on Facebook and on the website, so go over to Facebook, or excuse me, the website. But before you do, if you wouldn't mind sharing the show while it's live to your feed, that would really help get Cari's story out there. So thank you for that. Also, one of the great ways to keep in touch with me and what we're doing and all the guests is to make sure you get on my website, excuse me, my email list. I send out one email a week. It shares which guests are coming up on the show. It also shares the recording links from the previous show for audio and video, and some inspirational blog posts and that sort of thing. So make sure you go up to marygiuliani.net and go over to the free newsletter section and get signed up. The other thing is, if you would like to receive my shows automatically in your iPhone, just go to iTunes and look up Mary Giuliani Live, and you'll get those automatically every single week, and you can listen to them right on your phone. Or if you have an Android, you can listen to the app for iPhone or iTunes there as well. And for the new people, the whole purpose of this show is to help you transform your life. You know, for me, 30 years ago is when my personal and spiritual growth path started, and it was really key for me to put myself in environments where people were committed to growing and really looking at what might be getting in the way for them and sharing their successes as well as their vulnerabilities and their quote-unquote failures. And so that's what this show is about, is sharing the whole process, not just the good, but the good, the bad, and the sometimes ugly. That can happen. So let's see, is there anything else I wanted to, I think I've covered all my little announcements. Well, let me just start by, saying that Cari Palmer is like, we met about, gosh, it's going to be 2 years actually in August. And we'll talk about how we met, but we have just become best friends, and we're both on a very similar path, and we're running at a very similar pace. So it's so key to have friends like that. And Cari's been a radio personality for, I think, 20 plus years. She's a DJ up in the up in the Seattle area. And she's got an amazing story, where she was really raised in a very abusive environment, and it's really become clear that more and more people want to hear her story, and more importantly, hear how she overcame so many major obstacles in her life. And I love the way she sort of sums it up. It's from abused to zen, from powerless to powerful, to changing the world by planting one seed at a time. So let's welcome Cari Palmer. Hey, Cari.
Hey, Mary. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so good to have you. Wow, I'm just so thrilled
awesome
you're
to be here.
Yeah. So, gosh, you've been in the DJ world for what? Like radio? Do you call it?
It's been
DJ
over 20 years.
Yeah,
radio
okay.
Personality, air talent. It's got a lot of names.
Okay.
DJ is kind of
okay.
the wiki guy, but yeah.
The wiki guy. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Cool. So, what is it about now that makes you feel compelled to share your story? Just curious.
It's been interesting because, as you know, I've been writing my story for the longest time. Actually,
yeah.
I've been writing it for the last quite a few years, and I could say I probably have 1,000 pages written, and I keep having new epiphanies on what I need to put into the book. And it's come to my attention lately, mostly because I find myself not able to sit down and focus and get it written. I've been hit on the head, as I say, with a shovel multiple times. One day I was working with a guy who was relatively new at the station, and when I walked out after my shift, he said to me, shaking his head, he said, "You are by far the strongest woman I think I've ever met." And I'm like, I mean, I had to laugh because I thought, if you would have known me 20 years ago, you would have said, "I'm the weakest woman you've ever met." And that is no lie. And then most recently, it's been literally like I'm part of a couple different groups up here of, spiritual and growth. And a couple people have come up to me separately and said to me that I am the reason they're coming back to the meetings because I've shared little snippets of my story. And just in hearing that, it's given them the strength, thinking if this woman can do it, I can do it. And it blew my mind. And so the one thing I know is I have to share my story. Yes, I was an abused child. So many people were, but it's the fact that I was able to go from what I went through, like my sisters went through it too, but I came out way on the other side. And I honestly don't know anybody else who's gone where I have. And so I just, I need to help people. I mean, I want to be of service. I want to inspire, and anybody that just has that little inkling that they can do it, I want to grab their hand and hold them and lift them up, because you can do it. I didn't think I could, nobody was there for me. So yeah, I want to be there for anybody who needs it.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. It's so interesting, just how, well, that, you're at a similar place, a similar age as me too, and we're both at this place where it's like we have this compelling need to share our stories and really be able to contribute on that level. I thought it would be fun to chat a little bit about how we met, and it was on a cruise to Alaska where they had a Hay House seminar, and why don't you share a little bit of the story, and we'll kind of jump in back and forth on this.
First of all, I told my family, I am going on this cruise. It was, Hay House, who I want to write for, Brian Weiss. And I'm like, I'm going on this cruise, and I did everything in my power. It was like fine, but I'm the one with the issues. So I went on the cruise, and I had my own room. And at the last day of the cruise, I mean, before that, but I mean, I've met you and Jess Lynn, and we just connected, and we went and had lunch, and we had this amazing fiery chemistry that we just knew that we had to stay in touch. But on the last day of the cruise, me miss getting people together, because that's what I do. I got at my laptop and I talked to some of the Hay House people. I said, I want to stay in touch with this entire group, so can tell people I've got this. So everybody came up and they gave their name, address, email address, and so now we have people that, as you know, from Turkey, from Chile, from China, other places, that were all on the Facebook page. And it's just to keep people connected that are movers and shakers and people who want to grow their life. So it's just so important to me to stay connected to people like this.
Oh my God, me too. I know, because like at the time I was in the middle of writing my spiritual awakening memoir. You're in the middle of writing yours, and just having another person that was in a similar place on the journey, on a similar track, in a similar stage of life. And even though you were in Seattle area and I'm all the way down here in Southern California, it was like, it was so
technology.
Cool, we decided. Yeah, it's like we decided, you know what, we really need to support each other, so we started booking like a Skype call every 2 weeks, and now it just happens,
we talk all the time.
Yeah, so
I just want
to put out there to other people that it's so important to find at least one person, if not a community, and we'll go into that a little bit more later too. So on that, because that to me, I think going on that cruise and meeting you was huge for me, because you and then Jess Lynn, who we know she's in Guatemala, but then this other group that I've joined recently, it's people locally, but before them, it was only you that I had to talk to about stuff that I wanted to talk about. You're the only one that gets me, and so now I have a local community that it's become my family. They totally have. And so I've got you in California, and I've got all these local people that I truly, dearly love, and they all know it. We're all so connected. Well, yeah, I just know for me, when you're taking risks like this and you're leaping into something that most people don't do, it's hard to get support from people that aren't doing it, because it's like what I've learned is people can only support us to the level that they're leaping and risking themselves. So, what would you say?
We're out there. We are way out there. I mean, and that is the thing. I have taken leaps through my life. Like, I'm literally pushed to the edge of a cliff, and it's like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, this is the safe thing, but I'm going to jump. And I jump every time, and it's scary. Yes. But I know I'm going to be okay. And most people are afraid to take that leap. They're afraid to jump because it's unknown, it's uncertain. But to me, I have jumped, I would say 20 times, and each time it's just, every time it gets better and better. I'm not afraid to take
Awesome.
chances. Not afraid.
That's awesome. Well, I know for me, it's been a process. Like certain things, like when I was in like my late 20s is when I got on this path. But in the beginning, it was just basic things, just taking baby steps. But like now, sharing my whole story and that vulnerable part of me with all the addiction history and the weight and everything it's taken like all these years just to get to that level. But so yeah,
Yeah.
wow. So why don't we start at the beginning and just get a little bit of background on your story and your
On how it got so
childhood
ugly.
and yeah, let's hear about how Cari became the wonderful, fabulous woman she is today.
Well, she wasn't. So yeah, I was the youngest of three. And
Mhm.
my mother, I think she was probably 16 or 16 when she started deciding to have children and got married for the first time. And my mother, by the time I hit sixth grade, had already been married 5 times. And it was my 26th move. We were not in the military. But my mother had a
Wow.
knack for marrying men that loved to beat people up, abusive, torture, and definitely all alcoholics. The first four were
Wow.
alcoholics. Daddy number one, he was out of our life. I was an infant, I guess, when he was already out of our life. But supposedly I was already hospitalized because he beat me because I wouldn't start crying at one point, was the story I
Oh my
heard.
God.
But daddy number two, he was the lion's share, let me tell you. Um, During those years, I don't remember where my mother was. I remember hearing the word tranquilizers and her being in closets. But this man was a drunk and he was violent. And my two sisters and I, we were beat all the time for no reason. Just beat.
Wow.
There was a reason. He was drunk and he had a bad day at the used car lot. But I have a lot of memories. I don't want to go into all the details, but he
Right, of
sexually
course.
abused me. My
Wow.
sisters aren't sure if they were because my one sister just completely blacked everything out. But I
Right.
remember every little detail. And I remember it was interesting. I remember the details being 3 years old when he did it the first time. And then I remember
Wow.
telling my mother right after it happened, but I was in third
Mhm.
grade. So clearly I had a little bit of blackout issues in there too.
Yeah, of
But
course.
this was the lovely man that he took me with him to, we lived in Las Vegas, Henderson. He took me
Mhm.
to Gold Strike Inn, which is outside of Boulder City, and I got to go
Mhm.
meet his friend with him. So we get in,
Yeah.
his friend has a helicopter. We're going to go over Hoover Dam. Like, what kid
Right.
gets to do this? And so we get out there, we're going over Hoover Dam, and as we're hovering there, he unbuckles my seatbelt and he hangs me out over the dam and he's
Oh
pretending to
my
drop me.
God.
I was
Oh
probably
my
3 or 4 years
God.
old. And I remember this clearly to this day. It was one of those bubble
Oh, of
copters.
course.
And he was laughing. He thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So
Oh.
with him, constant violence, constant moving. Uh, he beat us. He did. We don't remember him beating our mother. Oh, one lovely
Mhm.
story. Just we had a kitten once that. Well, first he fed us our pet rabbits. We didn't know that until they told us it was chicken.
Ugh.
One day we were having dinner around the table and we knew silence at the table.
Mhm.
And as we're sitting there, our kitten came in.
Mhm.
And as this kitten is coming in, we're thinking, oh God, no, oh God, no. And the kitten meowed. He picked it up,
Oh.
he heaved it against the wall, and he killed it. And as it fell to the ground, we
Oh.
had to sit there and not cry and eat our dinner.
Mm.
And it was just this
Mm.
kind of like, so yeah, everything, that whole life. So after I told my mother about the abuse, he was gone. Whew. So we went back to this housing. We were
Yeah.
always in the low income housing all the time. And what was
Mhm.
interesting about my mother is I don't think she ever dated anybody. I think she married. She didn't even date. It was like we went from a dad to a dad to a dad. And
Yeah.
after him, she married this man on a contract, supposedly, who was going to um, get our name off the adoption. I don't even know what it was. She met him. She put an ad in the paper or something to find this guy.
Wow.
And so he was very abusive to my sister Donna. We had his teenage daughter Alice and Alfie. They were making us sniff gas. Just drugs. It was like got out of there after about a couple of
So,
months. Then my real father. Go ahead.
mhm. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just trying to get a feel for how are you feeling through this whole period of time? Like, what was the
Scared to death.
feeling? Like,
It
were
was
you
always
trying to?
scared. Always. I remember being under my bed all the time. Anytime a man's voice would raise, it
Mhm.
was like, and to this day, which I know I've worked through everything, but the other day I heard a man yelling, and it was interesting. That gut thing kicked in. I thought, wow,
Of
I worked
course.
through all the, like I could say everything and that happened to me
Yeah.
with no problem, but it's like that in that subconscious thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
still have that feeling. But
Yeah, I know.
just
Yeah. Oh,
just
sorry.
just quickly, I'll get through the abusive.
Yeah.
I know.
Go ahead.
So
No, go ahead.
when okay, daddy number 4, who happened to be daddy number 1, revisited. She met him again. They married again. It was a fun life for a little while. But then he came home really drunk one day, and it came to the point where he ended up whipping out a gun, and so she shot him. And as he lay there like in this pool of blood, paralyzed from the waist down, he said, "I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you." So that was the end of him. And so that was the day the abuse ended my life. It was the summer after 5th grade, and the abuse was over. It was done. But that doesn't leave you. You know what?
Of course. I mean,
you could
it
take
was
the
done
abuse
in
out of the
terms
girl.
of, yeah, I mean, but you had all of that, the scarring and the, I'm sure, major PTSD. I mean,
oh,
yeah.
Horrid. So
Yeah.
we ran from him. I mean, we were afraid. We ran from him. But she met this other guy within about a month or 2. I don't even know how the divorce happened. And she was in jail for a couple of days till it was proven self-defense. So she meets the new guy that she ends up marrying, who is 10 years older than I am, and I'm the baby. He's 20, I'm 10. My sister Lynn is 15. She's 32, whatever. Mary Kay Letourneau. So he turned out to be an amazing man.
Right.
He, from 7th grade all the way till I graduated from high school, I was in the same house. We had what looked like to everybody a normal life. I mean, we were clean. He worked his butt off to support us and take care of us, and I thank him profusely for that. But luck of the draw for me, so my 2 sisters are beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful teeth, beautiful hair. I was always overweight the whole time. Yeah. I had these teeth kind of like this, and between 8th and 9th grade, something happened to me, and everybody in my high school knows exactly what I'm talking about. My boobs started growing. My God, Mary, I had the biggest boobs in high school. So I had these crooked teeth, the biggest boobs, and I'm fat, and I'm a cheerleader for 4 years. So people came to the games only to watch me, as they say, move the earth, because it was ridiculous. So after graduation, right after, I had a breast reduction, and that started the rest of my life. Plus, I had braces in my senior year. But it's like, really? You know, I got all this crap, and now you got all this going on, too? So, yeah, it builds character. It builds character being the clown. But I think it made me really strong. I had to be tough. I had to be super tough.
Of course, yeah, wow. So in high school, did you date at all, or?
Well, my mother married 5 times, remember? I dated nonstop. I had a boyfriend for like 2 weeks, then I'd go like, oh crap, I forgot to break up with that guy, and I'd be holding his hand as I'd walk by and break up with the other guy. It was a lot of what I figured most of the guys wanted. I figured they all wanted to see my boobs, which a lot of them did. There was a lot of bets going on, but nobody ever, in case anybody wants to, ever saw them. Only the doctor. My mother never even saw them. So yeah, the doctor's the only guy who ever actually saw them. Those things were embarrassing. So yeah, I was a chronic dater, and I was dating this one guy, and I figured, I guess I might as well marry him. He's the best I can do, because look at me. And then I had the surgery, and I moved to California right after the surgery, so I just left where I knew. Left Las Vegas and started new. It was nice.
And so, was this when you? Wait, I know you were talking about how you did some counseling. Was that right after that, or?
No. So after moved to California, I mean, I was trying to live a normal life, but I realized that I didn't know what that meant because I didn't have a role model. So I ended up dabbling in smoking pot. Crank and coke became part of the thing that we did. It's like any job I wanted, I went party. I mean, I was able to get any job I wanted, and I realized how I manifested things, which I didn't know then, but I was able to sabotage myself constantly. And I never got fired from a job, but I had a death wish. I hated life. I didn't know why it wouldn't work. I couldn't figure anything out. I just kept trying harder. I kept doing more drugs, drinking. Oh my God, drinking and driving. Yeah. Insane. I mean, just looking back and like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't kill myself or kill anybody else. I mean, where's my car? And find it over 2 parking lots over the next morning. Yep. I know, so I was spiraling downhill. I was dating a really bad guy at this time who scared me a lot. And so it was ironic, this ex-fiance, another long story, he was in Boston, and he asked me if I would come to Boston and be his date for his class reunion. And so I said, I was so nervous. He goes, I'm going to leave a ticket at the airport. Just go. And I told him, I'm scared of this man. He said, just go. I want you to get out of there. So I did. I was like escaping. So I went to the airport, and I felt this like, okay, once I got on the plane and the door closed, I'm like, oh my God, he can't get me now.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing in the world. Talk about manifesting. As they're loading the plane, I look over, and this man was walking in. And the second I saw this man, I was like, oh my, I could not breathe, Mary. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I was going to marry that man. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if he was gay. I didn't know if he was married. I just felt this thing overwhelm me like, oh my God, I'm going to marry him. So long story very short, I made sure I got out of my seat and found him. He was sleeping. I bumped him, and he woke up, and we started talking. We were both smokers stuck in non-smoking on an airplane. And so we started talking. 2.5 years later, we were married. My knight in shining armor that I had been praying for and hoping for rescued me and moved me to Ohio. So now I've got this perfect life. I'm in Ohio, where I find out that wherever you go, there you are. I'm with this man who is now my 5th father. He does not lay a hand on me. I laid that line in the sand. But he was so emotionally abusive. He was so insecure, and he just knew that I was going to sleep with every man out there, so I wasn't allowed to work where men were. One of his sons ended up coming to live with us, and this kid broke in the bathroom to watch me shower. He's in jail now for kidnapping, by the way. Just, it was a horrible, horrible marriage.
You wrote a blog post on that one, yeah. I remember.
Yes, I did. And so I was with him 5.5 years, and I literally cried myself to sleep every night. It was like I didn't know what to do. I'm like, here I am. He would literally threaten me with divorce. If you do this, we'll get a divorce. If you do that, we'll get a divorce. So I lived in the land of, I've got to be a good girl and behave, because if I don't, he's throwing me out. And I just saw myself on the streets with nothing. And then I found something, Mary, that I did not know existed. I went to a bookstore, and I thought, there's got to be something. And I honestly, at that time, did not know there was something called a self-help book. I honestly did not. Yeah. So I found this section, and I'm looking and reading the backs, and I found 2 books, Cinderella Complex and Looking Out for Number 1. Don't know why, don't even remember what they're about. I brought them home, and I started reading at night, which I used to be crying at night. And with the first few pages, I felt this energy, this power, like, I can leave. I don't have to be stuck here. I mean, I can't even explain it. I did not know that I had a choice.
I can relate to that. When I first started getting into personal growth books too, they were like, gave you permission to step into your power. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no role model. Yeah. So with that, I made myself a promise that the next time this man says, if you do fill in the blank, we're getting a divorce, I was leaving. No matter what, I didn't care. I was going to make it work. So we went out one night, had a good time. I sang karaoke, which apparently that was a no-no. So we came home that night, and he said, did you have fun? I'm like, oh, it's awesome, the best night ever. And he said, good, because if you ever sing karaoke again, we're getting a divorce. And Mary, that second, a weight lifted off of me. I felt lighter than I'd felt in 5.5 years. And I went to bed, and I slept better than I had the entire marriage. The next morning I got up, I moved out. And
good for you.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. So this was when I started transforming. With him, we went to tough love meetings for his son, who he refused to go any further because he didn't want to make his son hate him. But I met a man who ended up I just had a chemistry with him, Jerry O'Hara. Oh, he was amazing. So I went to him, and he sat me down. We did some one-on-one. He was a social worker. He was amazing. Yeah. But he did this thing with a couch. Everybody sits around the couch, and all these people had been on his couch for quite some time. They read the same books that I read. They listened to the same tapes, the same, all these guided meditations, like letting go of the inner child. And then he also connected me with a sexual abuse group, to where literally within 2 weeks, I could say, I completely worked through my sexual abuse issues. I volunteered to be the first to share my story, and after I did, I felt like a butterfly just literally floating away with all the troubles. I felt so good again. But in this group, when you first join, he passes out these papers, and you're supposed to write down all your resentments. And I said, oh, give me the whole stack, dude. So he gave me all these papers, and that night I'm writing, I resent you, and I resent you, and all these people for everything that they'd ever done me wrong. And it was funny, because literally it was 6 months, Mary. And meanwhile, this time I told my husband we're done for good, even though I still yearned for him for a couple years, just because I was crazy. But 6 months later, he went around the circle handing out, saying, okay, who needs these papers? You know, I want you to write down resentments. And he walked up to me and he kind of smiled at me and I smiled at him. And he said, how many do you need? He goes, I said, I don't need any. At that point, I'd worked through everything. I'm like, nobody is driving my bus anymore but me. And I felt so strong.
That's amazing. I mean, how many years ago was this? Like,
whew, a long time. I was probably 20 years ago. 25, 30. Yeah, God, how many years ago?
So right, like at the same time when I got onto my path,
yes,
like
I was
late
30.
80s.
So I was like probably 32. And then, but the thing is, so like, and this is where it's tough, because I had come from this horrid abuse. All I knew was poverty and abuse and violence. So having this feeling that I like this feeling of having control over my life and this power and the strength that it was like I literally visualized myself having one foot stuck solid in chaos and one toe dabbling in strength and power. And so it was those next 5 years of me doing the work and still yearning for my ex-husband. That's just the crazy, because because it was normal. Our old story. You knew what the story was. Yeah. So I just kept hanging on to that and thinking, well, maybe he'll come knock on my door and maybe he will change. And meanwhile, I'd moved to Washington State and I'm still thinking, maybe he'll knock on my door. But God, please don't. But please do. But I was so messed up. But meanwhile, I grew so strong. It's kind of like you emerged super, super strong at one point, and then I kind of backed down a little bit as time would go on. But it was a good 5 years of mourning the loss of my old story and who I was, because I was no longer that. I couldn't use that anymore as a crutch because I wasn't holding on to the baggage. I let it go. I let him go. I let every part of that go. So, so the counselor was great, but 6 months, that's all it took, and I was done. And the funny thing was, a long time later, I talked to him again. All the same people that were around the couch when I came in are still around the couch. It's like, you gotta do the work. You gotta do the work.
So what was different then about how you did the work compared to them? I mean, just so that our viewers can kind of get a feel for what you're talking about.
What the work was you have to go back to all the pain. I wrote it all down. I journaled a ton. I had to face the monsters. And actually, I'd never done any meditating at this point, but the inner child meditations, like John Bradshaw has some good things, Bernie Larson and Bernie Siegel. I would listen to these meditations and I would lay down and it would walk you down to the river and there's your child and that's you. You hold her hand and you tell her she's okay. She didn't do anything. She's a good kid. It was just going through all that was what I needed. I mean, I'd never done any of it. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you didn't just show up for the group, but you actually took the actions and implemented, feeling the feelings, doing the guided meditations, doing all of the different things to really heal. Yeah. Awesome.
The hard stuff. And that is the hard stuff. And that's where painful. I know with my sisters, I told them, please do it. And they haven't. It's like, I know that, it's just you have to want to do it. You have to want to face it. You got to take a few steps back to just soar ahead. But I was always ready to let go of that old story. Always.
Wow. Cool. Well, for the viewers that are watching, just if you kind of tuned in a little bit late, if you would like to ask Cari questions or make comments, I'm fielding those on my website instead of Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, go over to marygiuliani.net. And there's the Watch Live page. And right below the live stream is a little chat box. So we'd love to field any questions there. There's quite a few people in the chat room. So anyway. Okay, cool.
Yes,
well, thank you for sharing that. That's a very powerful story. Gwen says, yay for inner child work. No kidding.
Gwen's a master.
Yeah. So, okay, so now we talked about your counseling and then emerging on the other side, and then just I wanted to kind of get a feel for, given the dysfunction from your, being raised by the mom that you were raised, what was your approach to just dealing with all of that? I mean,
the one thing
being a healthy, we haven't gotten into the part where you have a child yet. So let's maybe
I have a kid now. Okay. Well, I'll get to that. So I swore, and my sister Lynn, love her dearly, she kept telling me, you need to have kids. She said, oh my God, it's the best thing ever, you need kids. And I always use the excuse, I said, no, I'm too selfish. I don't want to do that. I want to be free. I want to do all this stuff. But my truth was, I cannot bring a child into this world because look what happened to us. And I do not have the tools. I do not have the capabilities because I was not raised right. And there's no way. I just thought I would hit a kid because that's what I knew. So I was not going to have a kid. So after I divorced, moved to Washington, and really felt strong, I met a man who I was like, oh my God. He was like, he was like good looking and strong and confident. I'm like, oh, he doesn't want me. There's no way. Because I was still not used to being this healthy person. So we dated for a while. I'm like, oh, he's going to dump me any day. And then he proposes, 2.5 years later. But we decided at that point, he had wanted to have a kid, and I never did. But I'm thinking, I can have a kid? I want a child, which I couldn't believe those words ever came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But I thought, man, with what I know now and how solid I am, so decided. And so and this shows how it was meant to be, because literally we got married. I was 38 years old. We decided to go ahead and have a kid. And so I got pregnant within like 2 weeks. And yeah, she's almost 18. So I mean, it was so meant to be. And she's an amazing kid. It's like I have these experiments and this stuff that I do. And it's like, this says, go back to your worst childhood memory. And I'm like, what is your worst? She's like, I don't know, when I broke something. She doesn't have any tragedy. It's like, I mean, I can't imagine being a kid growing up that way, but all kids should grow up that way. No kid should have horror and pain and just responsibilities that are just out of their league.
And I want to acknowledge you for recognizing, having enough self-awareness to recognize that you weren't ready to be a mom until you were ready to be a mom, and that you waited. And, I mean, what a gift to her. Wow. So,
and it's amazing because she's my legacy. I mean, she's going to leave this world as already healthy and strong and independent and knowing what she wants out of life.
Yeah. Hey, Dan Cordova says, you're Wonder Woman. He's saying, hi, community. So, just so you know. What are you doing? Oh, Wonder Woman's stamps. That's Danny, right? Okay. Hey, Danny. Awesome.
Thank you, Danny.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, he was another one of my cheerleaders that when he calls me Wonder Woman, and he's like, it's so funny. It's like people see me as something that I'm not. I see myself as a servant. I'm here to help people. But it's people like Danny and Jamie. They're like kicking me in the butt to like get on it now, and so I'm doing it. It's the time. It's definitely the time.
Okay, so now that we've talked about you've had this kid now, and you've done this work, so how did you approach being a mom? Like, I mean, I would imagine, even though you had done a lot of work, I'm sure certain things got triggered when you were a new mom. I mean, how did you approach being a mom given your background?
Well, I still wasn't 100%. I mean, where I am now is light years from where I was 3 years ago. I mean, light years. Yeah. So when I first had her, and plus she got to enjoy me going through some fun menopause years. So I had a lot of anger issues. I mean, it was like I yelled a lot. That was the one thing I look back at. I had a lot of anger, but she was so dearly loved. I mean, so, I worked in radio, which was fortunate. I was able to be here during the week. On the weekend, I would be gone. So she never had daycare. We won't even go into it, but she had open heart surgery when she was an infant. She had her share of troubles, but those aren't memories for her. Those are just done. She just has the scar. Yeah. But just these last couple of years to where I have found this, I would say, Mary, that I am like borderline, and I know borderline actual enlightenment where I'm at now. Because over these last couple of years, I know, I want to go back to this, how I got to launch to this place coming up next. But I'm at this place now to where I am so calm. I'm so at peace. I am in the present all the time. It's like I'm in the now. I don't think about the past. I'm not thinking, okay, future, the stuff I got to do. I'm allowing it to unfold the way it's supposed to. So living in the present, I feel like a Zen creature. And to the point to where I won't have it around me. And one day, Hannah was really, my daughter Hannah, she was like having this really rough day. She's like going off on like homework and this and that. And I'm like, honey, I love you so much, but I'm not going to have that negative energy around me. So when you're ready to just talk to me, and she was like, huh? And I'm like, you don't need to be around it. It's like, you have to be around positive energy. And she just picks up on that. And so her knowing she's being positive and just so transformed. I mean, I am this creature that I didn't know could exist. Literally, I feel like I haven't had the actual moment of enlightenment, but I feel like I am enlightened. I am in the present. I walk outside. I smell the flowers. I just feel the breeze. I'm outside constantly with nature. I just love being part of it. It's who I am. We're all one with everything. We're all each other.
Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
I do want to touch on the launch. Oh, go ahead.
Well, really quick, Danny has a question, which she's saying, what would you tell women survivors who are skeptical of the very short time period you went through therapy? Is that enough time to truly, deeply heal?
Not necessarily. I think I was a rare case. The thing with that is, and I heard something about this the other day, because if you don't do the work, you're going to live on the couch. I think most people are afraid to do the work because they know that once they do the work, they have to let go of their identity. It's who they are, that old story, which I wanted to let go of that story so bad. I mean, I didn't know how to do it, but I just knew I had to let go of it. So I think that's the biggest thing about me freely jumping as many times as I have. You have to, if you're going to embrace the biggest fears of your life, it's going to be scary as hell. But just getting to the point, do the work, and then I think the more you do the work and you start processing it and you understand that you can be this very strong creature, then it's going to be the natural next step to do the leap, take the leap. Because you'll think, I don't need it. Because when you're around somebody and you grow as a person and they don't, it's like you just can't connect anymore. So if you do the work, even privately, whatever you have to do, and then you will be ready to take that leap and you will know you'll be okay. I mean, I think most people are afraid to jump because you think, I've got bills to pay. Whether you take a leap or not, you're going to still have bills to pay. But you just have to jump and trust that your chute's going to open and you're going to land somewhere so much better than you are. And you're going to automatically meet people like you, your new vibration, your new energy level, because you've left the old one behind. You do. You emerge to something new when you change.
Right. And, and I think what's important to acknowledge is that everybody has their process. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying that I honor you in your process, and yet there are people that are going to take longer, and it doesn't mean it's wrong or different. It's just, it is what it is,
Yes.
So Danny also says, I ask on behalf of survivors I personally know and who have had varying degrees of success in their personal healing. Mostly there seems to be an inability to go through the deepest therapy. So.
Right, yeah.
Anyway.
And you do have to get through that. That's the one thing you have to get through it. And for some people, maybe hypnosis is going to work better, I didn't have to do that, but yeah.
So a couple minutes before we talked about this, you said you wanted to circle back on something. Do you remember what it was?
Yes, absolutely. This is, I think, one of the biggest things. So here I grew. I got married and had a child. And then I think, okay, I have a child, and I'm only having one, especially with her heart condition at the time. So I got her very socialized. I ended up meeting all these people, and we have this big group of friends. And I was kind of one of the leaders where I would plan all these outings and camping and New Year's Eve parties, all this stuff. And so this became our world. So Hannah's growing up in this world where she has all these kids she plays with, all these moms away from mom. And this was our world. And it was fun. It was wonderful. But it's kind of like I got myself stuck in this hole again. And now I'm with all these women that what they like to do during the day was sit around the table and have lots of champagne and wine, hang out in the backyard, watch the kids play. Meanwhile, now the kids are older, they're going to school. It's like get together and drink, and didn't do anything. And I'm a doer. Looking back now, I mean, as busy and active and athletic and everything as I am now, I think I sat around a lot. But I was so enmeshed in it, I didn't realize how deep I was in not doing the work anymore. And I was so grateful. There's actually one woman that I'm not going to name her. She knows who she is. She didn't like me from the get-go. She was kind of like, there was this polarization between the two of us. We get together, like my best friend at the time, who I hung out with and I loved dearly. We were besties. She was trying to like push me away. And I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. This is my friend. You're not taking over. She became her neighbor. She was a new neighbor. And so I thought, I'm going to pee on my territory. Nobody's taking my friend away. And then it was hilarious. So at one point, I find out that this woman starts like throwing my name through the trash. And at that point, this was huge. This was the same thing when I left my ex-husband. I was like so mad. I thought, I'm going to go and get in her face and I'm going to, confront her. And I was just so mad at her. But I thought, no, I'm going to go home and write. And so I started writing letters to her, writing letters to my best friend who allowed this to happen because she just wasn't strong enough to stand up for me. And so I started writing and writing and writing and writing. And then I realized that the best thing I could do is just back away. I just literally, I stopped contacting these people. I backed away, and there was a lot of confusion, like, you know, why aren't you doing this? And, you know, these people really miss you. But I'm like, I don't care. Letting go of this group of people, which was, I want to say, probably maybe up to 10 years of my life here, which was, to me, I pushed the pause button and I stopped my growth process. And once I walked away from them, and then I ended up spending hours and all my time alone, I came back to me, and I came back to the growth. And I started, walking a ton, and I play soccer. Super active. But I spent all this time doing walking meditation, which once I walked away, I started realizing all the stuff I was missing and how I forgot that I was on this path of growth, which I didn't realize that this growth can keep continuing and you keep getting stronger and better and better. So walking away from that group was the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't see any of them anymore. We're all in this town together. But it's literally, I got stuck, and then looking on the outside, looking in at the dysfunction in this group, like this one's drama. It's like, it was just a swirling pit of drama nonstop.
Right.
And leaving there that's what got me back on track. And now I only surround myself with people at the same energy and the same vibration. We're totally connected. I would never go back to that. I'm aware of that now, and I will never get washed. I'll never go back to something like that again.
Well, and that's such a key point, that the people that we choose to spend our time with are so critical in terms of how we're influenced with the path that we're on. And and so, you know, I know for me personally, I had a lot of shame around people being judgmental of me if I left them, and all kinds of stuff that I needed to work through, and it kept me stuck in relationships that I really didn't want to be in. But that's not the case anymore. But the point is that whatever you need to work through to let go of those relationships, or to just be more authentic. You know, one of the things I've shared on this show before is one of the ways to sort of shake out the people that are meant to be in your life is just to speak your truth more directly, and the people that don't want to hear it won't want to hang out with you anymore. You know what I mean? So.
And that is what I'm teaching my daughter. I'm just, because she's going through a lot of relationship issues, because high school is nothing but drama. And I am just like, say exactly how you feel. Just always be kind and loving and caring, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like, just don't label anybody, don't judge anybody. You don't know their story.
Right.
Just, you know, be honest, be authentic. And she's learned a lot. And it's so hard for somebody who's so healthy in high school to be, because most kids come from some stuff. And that's what she's experiencing. All these kids have their, you know, and so we talk about it all the time. And she calls me all the time, like, Mom, and she'll ask me a question of advice, and then I'll give it. And she's like, oh, you're on speaker. This is for so-and-so. Because she always asks for my advice for her friends. But yeah, it's tough. You have to find, and I told her college will be so much better. She will find people that are similar to her in the same level. Because high school is just a hard place. It's a very hard place.
So now, you know, here we are, present day, or the last maybe 3 or 4 years or so, and what just for our viewers, what does your daily practice look like as far as the tools or the things that you tap into to support your own personal growth and fulfillment and spiritual growth? What do you do?
I think some of the most important thing is don't be around everybody. Spend time alone, meditate, whatever that means to you. To me, I've got a great backyard with a creek, and I love sitting out there with the sound of the creek going by. Just a silent meditation, or whatever you need, but meditate. Take at least 10 minutes a day. If you could do more, to where you allow these thoughts to come in. And what I'm able to do by living in the present is I don't have like this mind full of stuff. I can sit there in silence, and it's silent. It's dead silent. And then when I want to think of something, or I want to process, you know, what am I going to do about this? Only that stuff comes in that I need. So I surround myself with like the books that I like to read, which I don't have time to read. So I listen to Audible. I've got books on tape that I listen to. Like Eckhart Tolle has become my hero. He's like the power of now, and just about just being authentic and just living now. So, and yeah, I mean, literally, I don't judge anybody. If I see, like, I'm driving down the freeway, somebody cuts me off, I'm like, you silly. It doesn't bother me. You know, I just don't allow it to bother me. It's like, roll off. I have nothing that I need to get stressed about. Nothing. And there's no more, which I have a rule in my house, No raised voices, no screaming, because it doesn't have to happen. There was a time when I was a screamer, but there's no screaming, there's no yelling. I just can't have it. I won't be around it.
So
it's not necessary.
What I'm hearing then is that you're setting boundaries with people in your life, and you're basically teaching people how to treat you. You know, first of all, I mean, you're being selective with where you spend your time and who you spend your time with, but also with the people that you do spend time with, you have some very healthy boundaries, and that's awesome. So I just want
because not everybody's changing with me, you know. So I'm here. I feel like I've evolved at this amazing place, and it's just I can't be around. It's just I won't. I mean, it's like when you want to surround yourself with Zen monks, you surround you. That you know, I have enough people that are this way that I love to be around, and those are my village. That's my community. And I think when you know you can have that, why would you want anything else?
Yeah.
You know, it's peaceful, it's calm, and it's authentic. Everybody honors each other. If somebody says, hey, let's all go do this, and if you don't want to, you say you don't want to, and they're like, thank you for honoring your own needs. It's like, you're not going to go because somebody wants you to, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's none of that.
We honor each other.
You should do this, and duty and obligation and guilt and all that stuff. So what is next for you as far as your career? I mean, you're a speaker, you're a writer, you work with individual. Like, what is it? What do you see?
Well, I know.
For you, and who's your tribe?
Right now, I know that my story needs to be told, and that's why I know I want to tell my story. And it's not so much say, look at woe is me, what happened, but I want to help people. I want to be able to be in front of women and men who need somebody to hold their hand. And that's what I've been saying. I've got to write this book. I've got to write this book, but the book isn't getting written. I mean, I've written, like I said, 1,000 pages, but I'm like, okay, I constantly meditate. What am I supposed to be doing? You need to be speaking to people. Then stop writing. I need to write. I will write it. The book will be out there, but I need to just get myself in front of people. And I'm actually starting that. I'm going to be talking twice a month. I've got it already started here, just to small groups of people, and start getting a community going. And it will organically grow the way it's supposed to. Because I mean, if one-on-one with people, whoever needs me, I want to be there to hold their hand. When I was going through the time with my ex and feeling so alone and that nobody understood, and there was no internet anyway, I didn't know how to reach out to anybody. Like, nobody can help me. I couldn't call my own mother. I was not allowed to talk to her about anything that happened in our childhood. I mean, but so I was on my own. I want people to know, anybody, that I will be that hand for you to hold. I will give you the strength. I got the strength. I got the power. And I want to help people pull themselves out by their bootstraps. And then just once they get up out of the hole, then they can run. Just they got to get out of the hole. And I want to help them. I want to help them one-on-one. So awesome. I don't care. I really don't. I want to help. I just feel that's my calling.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so clear and compelling, and it's so cool that you're doing it. So how can people reach you? I've got my website, and I love Nora, my web designer. I've got my website, which is caripalmer.com. It's on just caripalmer.com. Simple to find. And I point, but I know that I'll point to the wrong place. So it's so counterintuitive. Or you can email me directly. It's just Cari Jill. Cari Jill Palmer. Cari Jill Palmer at gmail.com is the email address. So just go to the website. There's forms right there. You can, if you would like me to speak to your group, you can fill out that form. If you want me to work with you one-on-one, do a 30-minute phone call just to see if this is a fit, I would love to do it. So it's all on there. Awesome. You just fill it out and it'll come right to me. And plus, I mean, if you want to get on Cari's email list, she's a great writer and writes amazing blog posts. So make sure you get on her email list too. That's some opinions. And so, since we're kind of running out of time here, what is the message that you're most passionate about that you want to leave with our audience tonight? The biggest thing is there's so many people, I would say probably most of the population has some real serious dysfunction that they grew up through. It doesn't matter where you are at in your process, how old you are. If you think you're too old to try, it's never too late ever to turn your life around. Because right now, I mean, turning my life around, Mary, I am, all right, I'll say it, 57 years old. I feel stronger. I'm in the best shape of my life. I can probably outlast. I don't get sick anymore. I am the healthiest I've ever been. It's because you let go of all this stuff. You let it go. Your life just starts. And I know I've got a good 50 years ahead of me. So it's never, ever too late to start.
ever.
I
Just
love
just
that.
take the first steps, and you'll be
Yes,
fine.
and get the
Just take the
support you
steps.
need. Get in touch
Yes,
with
I'm
Cari
here.
or another coach. Yeah. I
Yes.
love that. That's so key. Wow. So I'm going to be making a few announcements where actually we've already talked about this, so I'll just bring it up right now that next week I will be doing my Conscious Conversation Salon, which is the first Wednesday of every month, and Cari's going to be my co-host. So yay! I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about how to develop a strong foundation of friendships and how to deal with maybe some of the friendships that aren't so healthy so that you can either resolve what's going on with those or move forward. So very excited about that. We're going to be just having a good time supporting everybody, so make sure you come and visit me and or Cari and I next week as well. So with that, my friend, I am so thrilled that you were able to make it tonight, and we will have you on next week. And let's say goodbye to Cari, everybody. Bye, Cari.
Thank you.
Okay, so wow, that was amazing. I'm just so thrilled that I was able to have Cari on the show, and even more so that we have such a great friendship, and we're so supportive of each other. And this, I think, the first time I've had a friend that's been on a really similar track and really is coming from a similar place, and we're like the same age. It's just been great. So, yay, Cari! I can't wait to have you on next week. I have a couple of announcements, and then we're going to wrap up for the night. So I always do a coaching tip or a coaching challenge every week since I'm a coach, and I love to line it up with whatever the topic our speaker or our guest is. And since Cari is all about providing support, I wanted to offer a coaching tip around building a powerful support system. Because one of the things that can happen when you're really trying to make a major shift in your life is that typically the people that are in your life are a mirror of your existing level of consciousness, and they're not a mirror of the level you want to step into. So in order to really do that effectively, it's sort of like when you go through a breakup. You know, if you don't get a support system in place, the chances of you going back to your ex and then kind of spinning around in that dysfunction is kind of high because you don't have a support system to fall back on. Same thing with friendships or moving to another area of success in your life or fulfillment. So what I want to encourage you to do is take a look at some areas where you can put support systems in place. There are all kinds of meetups. Well, first of all, come to this show every week and listen and be inspired and ask questions to all the people I interview, or come to the we have our conversation salon the first Wednesday of every month. Get support through me and my interviewees. But aside from that, the in-person support is really important too. So let's see. There's meetups. Meetup.com is a great place to find groups, in-person groups in your local area that are related to whatever it might be, whatever support. If you want to become a speaker, there's groups on speaking, or if you just want to be around other women that are into personal growth, you can do that. Or if you want to do a hiking group, whatever it is, go to meetup.com and put in the topic that you want to get connected on. You'll be amazed at all the support that's available for you. And then next week, we're going to, like I said, Cari and I are going to support you on a more individual level on looking at the kinds of relationships that you would like to step more into, and also how to transform to the ones you're in. So make sure you tune in next week and tune in live so you can chat with us during our salon. Okay, the next thing I have is, again, I am a coach, and I actually do two types of coaching. I provide actually remote video live streaming support. So if you are a person that would like to have your own talk show or any kind of show live streamed, but you don't want to deal with any of the technical issues, I can actually, on your behalf, act behind the scenes where you won't even see me, but you'll see. The viewers will see you live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and on your website. And I will be able to switch between screens for you and everything. And so if you are looking for support on live streaming your own program, I would be glad to talk to you about that. Just go up to my website, marygiuliani.net, and go to the live streaming button. The other part of coaching that I offer is if you're a woman that's in midlife that has a compelling desire to really share your gift with the world, or you have a spiritual calling that you really want to fulfill, but you're feeling stuck and not able to really take the kind of steps or get the kind of traction you need, I can help you. I have been there. Please go to my website, marygiuliani.net, and go to the coaching page, and we can chat about that. I'd be glad to chat with you about that, no charge, to see if it might be something that can help you. And I think, gosh, I think we're just about done here. Let's see, I was just looking at the chat room here. Well, they're talking about Cari writes some great blogs, and Gwen, thank you for your acknowledgement on what I'm doing. So yay, thank you, Gwen, for your acknowledgement. And I'd like to have you on my show, Gwen, too, so let's talk about that. Gwen's an amazing coach as well, and she does all kinds of interesting things to help people with inner child work. Okay, so let's see. The last thing I would like to, well, let me just back up a little bit, and I want to sort of lock in maybe some accountability on finding support systems to help you move to the next level. So if you're really serious about taking your life to the next level, make a commitment to go to a meetup this week, put it on your calendar so you really do it, and let me know how it goes. The other thing is my last tip, and I always like to include this, is what's one thing that you are willing to do to be true to yourself, and put it on your calendar, because that's what's going to lock it in to make sure you do it. And that's what happens when your life will take off, because you are being true to you. So thank you for being here and joining us, and we will see you next week, and have a great week, everybody.